Throughout the criminal justice system, there are many overwhelming stories and criminal cases that grab people's attention. One that comes to mind for many and will be remembered forever throughout history is the Scott Peterson story. There's been many documentaries and films, and also even a book made about this overwhelming case. This crime happened December 24th, 2002 by Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson was married to a lady by the name of Lacey Peterson, and they had an unborn child named Connor, and she was 8 months pregnant. During this time, he had a whole criminal case that was planned out for his wife. She did not know, and no one else knew about it, which makes this story very interesting. On December 24th, 2002, Scott Peterson took his wife, Lacey, and her 8-month-old unborn baby, Connor, on a fishing trip. No one knew about this story because he hadn't told anyone at all whatsoever. On this day, Lacey Peterson never returned home. Obviously, Lacey's family was traumatized, and a month later, the family demanded answers and wanted Scott Peterson's story, and he wanted to admit everything that was done. Days later, family also believed that Scott Peterson had been seeing someone else, and this was true. Their family happened to be right. The lady by the name of Amber Fry came forward and announced she was seeing Scott Peterson and was in a romantic relationship with him while he was with his wife Lacey. Amber Fry was a massage therapist that Scott Peterson had been talking to on the side throughout his relationship. With all of this going on, obviously authorities wanted to search Scott Peterson's house. They searched his house and declared the disappearance of Lacey and their unborn son Connor a homicide in February of 2003. Now that a couple months had passed, an investigation for a missing person had been ongoing. At this time, California's Attorney General Bill Lockyer confirmed a body found on April 13th in the San Francisco Bay Area. This drew authorities' attention and wanted everyone on this case. At this time, they discovered a female body that had an unborn child with it. On April 13th, 2003, they discovered that Lacey Peterson was dead, and so was her unborn baby. Later that day, on April 18th, 2003, Scott Peterson was arrested in San Diego, California, pending capital murder and double homicide charges. This is very serious for any criminal, especially someone who committed a crime like this. Scott Peterson was then charged with 2 felony counts of murder with premeditation and special circumstances. Peterson wanted to plead not guilty, though. Under California law, the special circumstances allowed for the prosecution to seek the death penalty against Scott Peterson due to the crime he had committed. There are 2 counts because in California, they had the fetal homicide statute, which allowed for his unborn son Connor to pay the price for what Scott Peterson did. After this, the district attorney was announcing he was going to try Scott Peterson for the death penalty. Once Scott Peterson heard of this, he hired a big-time attorney. Later that summer, Peterson had turned this offer down because he still thought that he was not guilty. Authority found Peterson had called Amber Fry hundreds of times, which made this whole crime and situation turn. Once the trial began, after this had been discovered, Scott Peterson was found guilty for second-degree murder and first-degree murder due to the unborn child of Connor and his wife Lacey. Throughout this court case, there was a judge by the name of Alfred DeLucci formally sentencing Scott Peterson to the death penalty at the end of this trial. He was quoted, as I say, cruel, uncaring, heartless, and callous on the Scott Peterson case. He said it was the worst scenario he had ever seen, and he does not see how anyone could do this to their supposed love of their life. Scott Peterson, on December 24th, 2002, took the life of Lacey Peterson and their unborn child Connor in Modesto, California, in the Bay Area. The thing with Scott Peterson that is very interesting to me throughout this story is that Scott Peterson denied this with every aspect that he had. He denied that he never did it and that it never occurred and that someone had taken Lacey. but he did not truly wipe all evidence clean of his supposed fishing trip that he took his wife Lacey on when she disappeared on December 24th, 2002. Throughout this criminal investigation, before he was charged guilty with the death penalty, they had found a pair of pliers inside Scott Peterson's boat, which changed the whole story, along with the Amber Fry phone calls that led them to the discovery of this. Due to this, Amber Fry came clean and admitted that she had heard Scott Peterson talking to this, which later allowed them to charge Scott Peterson with the death penalty. I believe that this criminal justice story and crime will be remembered throughout history. I do not see how someone can take the life of their loved one and their unborn child for such dramatic circumstances.